we're not going to make 30% a year like you potentially could in the stock market. But over the long run, if I'm building wealth, rule number one is don't lose money. So we avoid the big negative downturns. We get the significant cash flow that we can use today. And then we have the ability to significantly reinvest, not just buy a fractional share every quarter like you can in the stock market. You're actually going to be able to significantly reinvest and multiply those returns versus add to them like you can for the stock market. So at the end of the day, if nobody asked me why real estate, these are all the reasons why.
Welcome into the Get Invested podcast, a podcast about all things real estate and real estate investing, brought to you by Capital Velocity Investments and a part of the Matthias Talks Investing Substack.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back into another edition of the Get Invested podcast. Happy to be here. I'm one of your hosts, Jordan Stone, and that's
Matthias Wilson.
There he is. All right.
We're so bad at this.
We just switch it up every time just to keep people on their toes. Make sure they're awake while they're driving. All right. Well, as always, we're happy to be here to talk all things investing, real estate investing. And, we started the shenanigans early, so there's going to be some of them as well.
Sure.
Today, we got a pretty exciting topic. I'm really pumped to talk about this because I think it's
been digging deep, folks. Digging deep.
And I got to nerd out on some data and make some charts. So that's always fun. Before we jump into that, I know that this is a theme of last week's pod, but I just want to let people know I'm still dedicated because if you can't hear, I'm here. I'm playing through. This is the flu game. I'm playing through.
He's just comparing himself to Michael Jordan.
Hey, my name is Jordan. No, I've been struggling with this sinus infection ever since our big, huge shindig, which I guess this is the first time we've pod since that happened.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So I didn't have to pay for the game, but I paid for it in other ways, I guess. But
yeah. Nice.
Let's just jump into that, honestly. I mean, I'm sick. Yeah. My old lady's is home from work. She never misses work, by the way. So it's the Stone household suboptimal right now. But what's been the feedback? Have you just sat back in the glow?
I have. It's finally like settled in, and it was epic. There's so many people. There was 30 of us total at this thing. So there was 18 million different perspectives that everybody had. I was over here doing this while you were doing that. So we were up smoking victory cigars with the boys on top of the thing, and then you guys were playing cornhole down over in the cornhole section, and then the mom and the girls were drinking wine inside. Oh my gosh, there was so much going on at any given time.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was what I had hoped and dreamed it would be. So I emailed Caden, shout out to Caden, but I emailed him afterwards because he emailed me. He was like, "Hey man, let us know if we can do anything better." I was like, how could you make that better? The Chiefs won, thank God. That's if we'd lost, that would be the only way that we could make it better, but we didn't.
I gotta say, loved Caden, loved the whole thing, had a blast. Could have used some more breakfast style food at 8 a.m.
Yeah, that's buffet. A good point. It's interesting. I had the same thought. It was tailgate food, but it was hey bro, it's 9:20 a.m. when we were eating.
I mean, we rolled up at 8. And it was meatballs.
Give me a breakfast burrito, bro.
It was here's spaghetti and meatballs, and the meatballs were good. But I'm
cheese dip. I mean, it was all good. It was good. Yeah. I think I roasted my tongue on some of it, and that's on me. But no, man, it was awesome. I will say that I told Janice, we got to buy a bunch more apartments so we can do this every year. And she was like, Matthias. But no, it was cool, man. It was. I'm glad everybody got to be there. That was darn near anybody I invited was able to make it, which is pretty cool. Most of the fam, obviously, cousins, immediate family, just about everybody was there. So it was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Rebecca was the only immediate fam that did.
Yeah, the only sibling that wasn't able to come. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and I mean, this is just a note for the organizers. I don't know how this is going to happen because this is a tough thing to pull off with the amount of things going on. But maybe next time Angel gets to come, maybe figure out something else to babysit.
That we have to. She had surgery. She had surgery the week before, or 2 weeks before, so she wasn't agreed. But it just worked out that way. So she was like, "Hey, I'll watch the kids since I'm not going to be able to go
really stay in that long,
do all that." So that ended up working out. But I agreed. The original design was for everybody and their spouses to come too.
Yeah,
so.
No, I know. I just she She said they were fine, of course. So that's the thing. It's not like they're.
No, they played with
It's
each
not
other
like
too.
they're
They did it
maniacs.
the rest of the week. Yeah. Well, they are, but
I mean, in a
they're
good way. They're 5.
controlled maniacs. They're not dangerous maniacs. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm glad. Yeah.
Speaking of the children.
Yeah. The children who were not, who were really not going to be able to do this
Appreciate
like
this
6-hour epic thing.
Also, I wouldn't want to be around me having to watch the kids at their place for 6 hours either. I would not have been a pleasant person to be around.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot going on. I got to say, I would, the more I think back on it, I think by the time I was like, okay, everybody's in, nobody's going to get kicked out of their seat. Like by the time I like got that in my head, I was like cool with everything. I think
the first quarter was over.
It's literally, yeah, it was like
the first quarter was the fastest quarter I've ever experienced in my life. It went so fast. But
no, so
quite a game too.
I think that's one of the reasons why I don't have a lot of memories of like what was going on, because I was like, is everybody here?
Sure.
I was laughing. Jim put one of the posts that she put up was like of us all cheering when Kelsey scored, and then like,
I know
if you really know what's going on,
I called it back.
And
but it was such a cool score. I was like, I told her to put that one. I was like, put that one, save that one. That's a great one, because we were right there. I mean, you can't get a better view of that. You could see them
go in.
They called it back, which was again frustrating. But
yeah, and then like it cut off right as Chuck was like, they're calling it back.
Yeah. Yeah. A little buzzkill.
Well, I'm glad everybody had a good time. I mean, obviously,
for sure.
Again, we were all in different places, but yeah, I didn't realize how long I played cornhole. I was like, man, this went by really fast, but I must have played for like 2.5 hours.
Nah, it wasn't that long, but it was an hour and a half, I'd say. I mean, I was trying to make a conscious effort to like experience this, talk to this person, do this. And I mean, it all ended up blurring together just because it was so much going on. But I feel like I did a good, because I played some cornhole too. I played a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was like I feel like I dabbled a little bit of everything and got to experience the whole thing. So it was 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
If I was Siskel and Ebert, I would say.
Yeah. Everybody else, I'm assuming everybody else, the feedback you've gotten has been universally positive. I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
Did I tell you this was so funny? Because I was quote unquote line leader, and I was getting everybody in, and where we went in through the gift. I don't know where you guys went in, but we went in through like the pro shop, or the apparel shop, whatever.
I don't think we had to go through there, but we went next to it. I wasn't.
So we kind of just
I was in the back.
We were just kind of shuffled toward the gate, right? Basically by
100%
event staff, and then so I was at the front to scan everybody's tickets, and honestly, we could have probably gotten like 4 other people in, because it was like they were not paying them, but there was too much going on. Like people were just walking by, and I had not scanned them yet. Like everybody was already in, and I was literally like I had like 4 more tickets to scan. Oh, I'm like, yeah, you just let in like so many people I hadn't scanned. But no, it was really funny because we went in and they're waiting for me to get done scanning, right? And so we walked through the gift shop or pro shop, not gift shop, you know what it is, where all the the apparel is. Fan shop, that's it, fan shop.
There you go.
And then we walk through, and then they all turn around and look at me like, where do we go? And I had told everybody the section like ahead of time, like it's 136, I think is what it was. It's like 136, 136, because I assumed all these diehard Chief fans, when they got into the stadium, they would know where to go.
We've had this conversation like 5 times. None of us have ever sat that low before, so we're always like, we got to go up. Oh wait, we're not going up. I don't know where to go down here.
There's no up. There's down.
There's no up. There was down. It was crazy. I had the same thought. I was like, I've never not been going up, because we got our legendary, iconic ramps that we do. Yeah. The things that we've always done. And I'm like, I don't know where to go from here. But I was in the back, fortunately, because I did the same thing. I had like 13 or however many I had in my
I had 13, you had 13, and then Michelle had 4. Yeah.
And so like I was just in the back, and I'm just glad that the numbers equaled the numbers. And I was like, oh sweet, we're good. There wasn't anybody left standing outside, and I got to go in too. So I just followed everybody from there, and they figured it out.
Well, that was what was funny, is your group like figured it out in front of you, whereas my group turned to the one person who's not a diehard Chiefs fan and was like, where do we go? I'm
the guy who's never been to Arrowhead before.
Yeah, never in his life. Yeah. I'm like, guys, I have the tickets for organizational reasons, but
what are we doing here?
And then finally, like Jared was like, oh, let's go down these steps. I'm like, that's a good guess. Lots of people are going that way.
Follow them.
Yeah, that was just so funny. And they had this look on their face like they couldn't believe I didn't know where to go. And I'm like, let's process this for a second. I'm
Nice.
just dressed like a Chiefs fan.
Which I
But-
appreciate.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, I was for the day, obviously. Me and Adam. Well, it was awesome. By the way, I do have to send you a picture, a great picture I have. I think most people got pictures of the same things I did and maybe better ones. I have some good ones of you guys with KC Wolf, but I think you guys have good ones of those already.
I have a good one of Jesse and I with the wolf. That's ridiculous.
Okay. I have one with everybody, basically everybody but me, obviously, since I'm taking it. I
Sure.
think it's everybody.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
I think I should send that one to you. But no, I have a great one of after the game. Your mom is wearing Jared's like Budweiser cowboy
Nice.
hat on the bus.
On the bus.
Yeah, on the way back.
I've seen one. Somebody else took a picture of that too, and I've seen that one. It's
So
great.
that's
Good stuff.
probably one of the ones I need to send you. Anyways, yeah, it was a blast. I got back, and then went directly into Thanksgiving, and then went to a much less enjoyable game. Carolina just got just curb stomped by State. Like they had given up. Clearly, the defense was like, "This offense is not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything." And then Uber like dropped our reserve ride, and none of the people knew how to get to the ride share out of the side of the stadium. We ended up standing there for an hour, and I had to pay surge pricing. I'm still fighting with Uber. It was the whole thing. My dad had fun, which was good because he paid for the tickets, and State won, so I was happy for him.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but and it was like 30 degrees the whole time. But that's why you don't start games at 7:30 end of November. Anyways. What? Anything else going on before we jump in here?
Nah, let's jump in.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, all right. Tell what we're gonna do.
Yeah, so Jordan and I've been talking for a while, kind of comparing. We're always comparing, contrasting why invest in this versus other things. So we figured we'd do kind of a deep dive on, we got some charts, we got some numbers pulling up here for kind of comparing real estate investing to stock market investing. And we're going to talk through the pros and cons and why I'm so focused on real estate investing as a hedge against a lot of the things we'll talk about. And some of these charts will show you kind of eye-opening. To be honest, if you're a disciplined investor, you're going to make money investing, period, right? You're going to be able to do it. There's ways that I'm more comfortable involving beginners than I am in other ways, and we'll kind of show you what the chart says.
Yeah,
so that's what we're going to get into.
And to add to that, the beginning concept was, hey, let's compare like somebody's throwing money, basically a Roth IRA, right? Like, which is what most people do. And honestly, I mean, we do that too, like in addition, right? But that's what people are going to think about with kind of investing and saving for long-term, et cetera. So that's kind of where it started. And what we decided was to keep all things equal, as it were, in order to do a comparison. It's an S&P index fund. Like if you invested in,
we basically charted out the S&P 500 over the past 10 years, and then we have the numbers for a theoretical poor real estate investment over those same 10 years.
Because I mean, most people probably listening know this, but you can't actually just invest in an S&P index fund, right? But most of the time, if you're throwing money in an IRA, whoever's managing your money, they have their things that they're choosing. It's not necessarily an S&P index fund, but stocks on the S&P are going to be involved. So that's why we chose it that way, to make it basically kind of Roth versus real estate, to get some alliteration in there. So just, that's where it came from. So how do you want to start this with these numbers?
Well, I'd say on the Roth versus real estate, one of the biggest advantage, we'll start up off the top. One of the biggest reasons I love the real estate so much. And I had a 3-hour session with the reason we're recording this on an abnormal day is because I had a 3-hour session with my CPA yesterday.
Yeah, I was dressed nice yesterday.
We blew through our normal recording time because taxes, right? Taxes are a huge part of, and the bigger, as you grow your wealth, you're going to become frustrated if you have to pay the majority of it to Uncle Sam. So one of the biggest advantages of real estate investing is, you could invest in an S&P 500 fund in a Roth IRA, and it will grow tax free. That's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's post tax, so it as in this tax advantaged account, it'll grow without, and you'll never have to pay, assuming you follow all the rules, you'll never have to pay taxes on it. The reason why I compared it to a Roth is because in real estate, if you continue to invest in real estate, it becomes relatively tax free as you continue to grow, and you get to use it today. You don't have to wait till you're 55 or start taking 72 when you have to take your minimum distributions from your IRAs. That's the beauty of the real estate, is that you can grow it relatively tax-free or tax sheltered over a long period of time if you keep reinvesting, and you get to use that money today. The distribution checks that you get from a real estate investment, those go to your checking account, not to your IRA where you can't touch them for years. They go, hey, we're gonna go, we're going out to dinner. The distribution checks came in, that kind of thing. So that's what I love so much about off the top. That's what I love about the real estate. But let's bring up the basically the tracking the S&P over the last 10 years chart.
Okay.
That's the first one you had there. That
is a good clarification, because we want to make sure that we are really doing the comparison of the post-tax on either a separate one, not the one that maybe comes out of your paycheck through your work 401k.
Sure.
We're doing the Roth. And the other reason that this kind of became a episode is because we were talking about, if you continue to reinvest, from one property to the next, it essentially becomes the same kind of thing as a Roth, except like you said, you get to use
it today.
The distributions today.
It's not restricted. Yep. Go ahead. So, and while you're pulling it up, I'm just going to talk about it. Like, this has been a pretty doggone good 10 years for the S&P. Well, for the stock market in general, which I think most people knew, aside from 2022, which we all felt in our 401ks and Roths and such. Aside from that, it's been a gangbusters 10 years. 2015 was kind of the real, I don't want to say recovery, but like we were in a real lull from like 08, 07 to, it dipped in 07 and 08, and then kind of 09 through, roughly 15. It was up and down. It was kind of flat, but we really started hitting our stride here in 2016.
I actually have some of that too. Go ahead, keep talking. I was just
so this this has been a good 10 years, but it's also not necessarily indicative of 10 years of a we don't, the S&P 500 does not average, I don't know whatever this is, like 18, 12, 13%, whatever it is over this. Like, that is not the over long term. It's 9 on the high end is 9%, depending on.
Yeah, I don't have the average here. I should, but you're right. It's about 13 basically. I have it later, but it's essentially.
Yeah. I remember from the other chart.
Yeah, you don't take into account inflation. It's 13.
Yeah, this is a really good 10-year period of the S&P 500. So I hope everybody honestly, I hope everybody invested it back in 2015 and over the course of this, because it's been a good run. So this is just kind of what the S&P 500 has done over the past 10 years. Go to the next one there.
Okay. So just as a note, in 08 it went down. Total was 37 points.
Woo!
Price was 38, over 38, and then it actually bounced back pretty good the next year, weirdly. But then it was like 0, 13, 29 in 2013, 11 2014, and then negative in 2015, and then 2016 has been basically from 2016 kind of on.
Yeah,
it's been, so as you can see here in this chart, by the way, this is technically, sometimes it's 10 years. I'm sorry, me and ChatGPT were working together, and then I had to recreate some of this stuff. So sometimes it's 20 to 2024, so it's 10 years, and sometimes it's 2020 to now. So
got it.
The numbers stay the same. So
Sure.
So what you can see here, just real quick, the blue is nominal, that red is inflation, and then the green is real returns.
Yeah, counting for inflation.
Guys, spoiler alert, basically you subtract the red from the blue and you get the green. So
yep.
So
so again, like I said, this has been a really good run for the S&P 500, but one of the chief differences between the S&P 500 and real estate investment is that 2022 year, that there's you're not going to tank value. I don't care what happens. You're not going to tank value in a year like that. You're not going to have a negative return over the course of a year. You might not grow as fast. You might go flat. You might even lose value, but you can't do in real estate. Like somebody has to be doing operating very badly, bad decisions, over leverage. You can't lose money like that in real estate, which is why I'm a risk averse person. And I was just talking to somebody earlier today he was like, hey, why multifamily? And I was like, well, because I'm risk averse, and I'm even more risk averse with my investors' funds than I am with my own money. And so I'm going to, what does Warren Buffett say? Rule number one: don't lose money. Perfect. The way I know to do that is in multifamily, is in real estate. I will. There's always the chance in the stock market that, because it's so far outside your control, if everybody else sells, your value goes down. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how you feel about it, what your
Right.
thoughts are.
You can be
your
the
investment
most rational, calm person in the world, but if
100%.
everybody else freaks out,
100%.
you're stampeded just as well.
Which is one of the exactly, like, you can remain rational if you control the investment, which is why we love the multifamily, but obviously not always the case in the stock market. If you want to go, what was that?
Those of you just listening, I was just gonna say 2022 keeps coming back. If you were wondering, if you don't remember or exactly what it was,
Probably blocked it from your memory, to be honest.
It was yeah, right. You memory hold that. It was an 18% reduction and with an 8% inflation. So that's so we're talking
nasty.
Basically a 0.25% of value reduction of the S&P index in real terms. So that's a real, I mean, that's shockingly almost as bad as the housing crisis year. So it was a big one. But you know what we did in 2022 as well was we bought Heritage Cove. So so there's a comparison right there.
Yeah, very true.
All right. So what you can see here is that, again, the S&P has had a good run. No question about it. I mean, this is, depending on how you calculate it, you're talking the 14%, 13-14% annualized return over this period.
Yeah, if you want to go to that one where it compares the two, I'd like to. That's
so that's just a table for people if they want to look at it. I mean, I'll put this up there where you can see, rather than on a chart, what the return was over those years.
I want to do the comparison one real quick. There we go.
Guys, I made this one last minute.
What I did,
this was bad.
Yeah. So what I did, everybody, I put together numbers on a 10-year, like a $10,000 investment. If you would invest it in something similar to what we do, kind of a relatively terrible business plan, like I wouldn't pull it. I told Jordan earlier, I wouldn't pull the trigger. We would not buy this property if these were the numbers. But these are, I almost certainly could achieve these numbers. We've done it with our properties, but basically we got a $10,000 investment, and then cash flow, and then a refinance in year 5, where we only pulled 50%, returned 50% of the capital, which we always aim to do more faster. But I just kind of beat up these numbers to show, like, hey, in a worst case scenario kind of thing. And then at the end, we sold for roughly a 50% value increase, which is, again, relatively low compared to our business plans. We would, like I said, we wouldn't buy this deal if these were the returns. So basically, we scheduled out the cash flow for the 10-year investment with a refinance in year 5, and then we came up with these numbers, which is I'm just going to read them off of my chart over here that you've depicted on your chart. Basically, we got a total return. So $10,000 would return you $21,900 in year 10. By year 10, I should say, not in year 10, but by year 10, you will have accumulated $21,900 for a total return of 219%. Annualized, it's 22%. And then of note, the cash on cash returns between 5 and 8% over the course of the thing, which is what I wanted to really hit on. If you want to go back to that chart where you talked about the dividend chart. So here's what you can expect. And the S&P 500 is actually a higher yield typically than most, unless you were an actual dividend investor. Your S&P 500 is going to have a higher yield than your average stock, because those are, like, the cream stocks, the blue chip stocks that you've got here. So you're looking at on a high end, 2% dividend, on a low end down to 1.5% there, or even less.
1.25.
Yeah, 1.25 in terms of yield. So obviously you can reinvest. You can't necessarily reinvest in real estate, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. But you can reinvest in the stock, so you can keep buying more of the stock, and especially in down years, your reinvestment goes further because you can buy. If the shares are cheaper, you can reinvest better. But this is what we're talking. Like, we're talking in your investment, you're only getting a 2% yield, and there's not a lot you can do with that other than obviously to reinvest. But like, you're not going to build up significant cash. What you're counting on is the appreciation of the stocks. So all else being equal, you need the stock market to go up in order for you to make money. You don't, 2% is not going to provide you, it's going to juice your return in the long run, right? Like, because you're counting on the appreciation, but it's not going to, if the stock market was flat for a 10-year period, and you would make 2% on your money is just effectively what you would do. So you need appreciation, you need good years in order to, for your, which is typical, right? We just saw the chart, but that's what you're relying on to make your returns in the stocks. In real estate, you're making 3, 4, 5 times that, these returns in cash, where you don't need any appreciation to get you a solid return, on your, which is again why I'm so all in on real estate, is because, again, you can't control the market, you can't control what's going on in the overall economy, unless you're, I don't know, Alan Greenspan back in the day or whatever. But but the rest of us, we have to live with what we can control. So again, we're talking about what a $10,000 investment would be. So in the stock market, here's the chart that would show. And Jordan, if you want to read through like kind of what we're seeing here.
Yeah. One note before we jump to this on the dividend share thing, just so everybody is clear on what they're looking at. Essentially, if you're buying an index fund, obviously you're not buying one specific stock. So the way that they do this is they say like a bucket, basically a bucket of stocks, which is actually a way, that's a sophisticated trading thing as well, where you choose your buckets and swap them in and out, right? So you would have made essentially on a standard share of
like an index fund share. Think of an index fund share.
A share of the index fund, you would have made $60 all year on that share.
Yep.
That's and you know, the fact that the money is going up there per share over the course of time is, like Matthias said, that's appreciation. But the amount that you're making on, because the stock is going up, but the amount of money you're making on that stock is actually going down. Or even if it holds steady, your yield is going down, right? And for those of, I mean, stocks pay out dividends, and then those are reinvested in the situation that we're talking about, right? With if it's a Roth, you're just going to reinvest it in the stock. So that I say that because on this next chart, these numbers indicate the nominal price return versus the total return, or not real and nominal. Sorry, just price return versus total return means how much the stock itself, the original investment itself went up. The total return is reinvesting the dividend that you got over that period of time, right? So that's why it's higher. So if you invested $10,000 in an S&P index fund in 2015, at the end of 2025, essentially, you would have,
it would be worth,
you would have $39,000 if you reinvested everything that made over that period of time. So you started with 10 and you would have grown to 29,000, or you would have grown $29,378, right? So to have 39,000, but adjusted for inflation, it would be equal to $28,827 dollars. So, and then what you're seeing there, if you're looking at the percentages there, that's the return over that amount of time on the $10,000 percentage wise, adjusted for inflation over that amount of time. So yeah, it looks great at 293%. And not knocking it, right? It's good. It's a good deal. But of course, adjusted for inflation, it comes down to 188%.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, I think this probably was something you're going to say. You saw none of this money, right? None of this came to you. It stayed where it was and kept being reinvested. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So that's the thing. And of note, the inflation on your money. I mean, one could argue that the real estate, or the stock market is insulated a little bit from inflation because it's a hard asset theoretically, right? You're buying shares of an actual company, but shares of companies don't appreciate don't inflate at the same rate as hard assets do, as in real estate. So one could argue that every return you get from real estate is sheltered from inflation, because as assets go, you're the inflation, the price of the, I mean, everybody, how's housing done over the course of the last 5 years with all the inflation we've been dealing with? Housing is the thing that everybody's complaining about because of the price of it. So, like I would argue real estate is probably the most sheltered from inflation asset that there is, because it is so tied so closely into it. So, obviously, we could beat up our numbers with inflation too, because cash is cash, whatever it's paying off of you. But I'm just saying, like, that inflation is going to hit your property, and those numbers are going to go up on your property as quickly as the inflation is. As we have seen, right? Everybody who's owned a house goes, "Woo!" The last 5 years were great for your house. Everything else was not fun to watch, but watching your house appreciate in value was great. And that's kind of the point we try to make. So the hard asset is one of the greatest hedges against inflation. And then the other thing I wanted to hit is the cash flow. Let's talk about the cash flow for a second. So obviously the dividends are getting reinvested if we're doing the dividend route for the Roth IRA situation. But in the real estate, I have it here, which is relatively low. So 5%, 6%, 7%, 7.5%, and then 7.5% again in year 5. So like basically those are the first 5 years of property. The cash flow from that plus that refinance gives us a total. I did the calculations here: $8,300. You did a $10,000 investment in year 1, right? Year 0, whatever, and then year 5, you have a stack of, assuming you did nothing else with the money, you have a stack of $8,300 in year 5. Now, the original investment is still going to keep making money over the next 5 years, but here's where the real compounding comes from, in my opinion, is that in year 5, I can put that $8,300 back to work in a new property, and it's going to start. Now we're talking that original $10,000. That's how we built what we've built. Is because of this right here. Is that we took money that from an asset that was still paying us, and we compounded that into another asset, and then we did it again, and then we did it again. So having $8,300 to redeploy in a new asset to start multiplying all of this in year 5, that's huge. That's something that you're not going to get from the stock market. Yes, we have compounding with the reinvestment, but that's a 2%. We're talking 8.3%. No, that's 83% of the money you can redeploy again from your original investment in year 5. And obviously these are just round numbers. We pick these random. This is not this is not a specific property that we have or anything like that. But just the numbers that you can pull with this. Let's say that you refinanced earlier. Maybe it wasn't as much, but you can redeploy sooner. Now you're compounding quicker. Let's say it takes longer. You get a bigger number, whatever it is. That compounding you cannot do with the stock market. And that's why that's one of the biggest. There's the tax, like we talked about. There's the cash flow that's significantly higher, and then you can use it now, right? And then there's the ability to redeploy into a new asset, and now we're talking serious multiples. I only did this one, the real estate case that we did. Obviously, there was no loss there's no negative years like in the real estate, but there's also, I only did the one, like if you did nothing with the money that we've handed you, or in this scenario that was handed to you, that was only one real estate. But if you, I can't even, like it's exponential growth if you could put, kind of reinvest whatever was handed to you as it went along. And if you kept with that, that's how the real wealth building comes around.
So I just want to clarify a couple of things.
Sure.
That 8,300 that was made over that 5-year period.
That's just 5 year. Yeah.
That's
period. What you've got in a stack, as well as your original investment still working.
That's including the dividend payout, right? Or dividend payout. That's included.
Yeah, in this case we call them distributions.
Right,
yeah, that's distributions from year 1 through 5, plus the refinance return in year 5.
Well, so that would be keeping it equal. Like you didn't spend that money, right? You didn't like go get something or go out to eat or take the family somewhere with that money. You actually just kept it. Would be the same as it being reinvested on the S&P, and then, but at the end of that 5 years, you have $8,300 to do something with specific, rather than it just keep rolling over. and now you have like doubled your investments, if you will, right? Because you have put it in another
Almost
one.
doubled. Yeah, exactly.
So I just want to be clear. You got back 5,000, right, in the refi, and then the rest was just cash payouts, distributions.
Yeah, that's the beauty of leverage, because you can't do that with your stock holdings, right? You can't just say, hey, they've been making money, I want to take some of that equity out and reinvest it somewhere else. That's not, I mean, I guess if you're a high net worth individual, you probably could take, if you're Elon Musk, you probably could take a loan out on your holdings on Tesla or whatever.
I mean, anybody can do something on the margin, but I don't know. That's where this is. I don't think that's what we're talking about.
I'm not encouraging anybody to do that.
So
fair.
Just wanted to be clear that, that that annualized return would be over the 5 years. I mean, what is that? It's what did you say it was? It was 22% over the
it's over the life of it is 22% a year. Yeah. Cash on cash is between 5 and 8%. I basically realistically increase it because it's going to increase. You lock in debt in year 0, year 1, and then you're going to, just appreciation and rent growth is going to give you, higher margins every year.
Right. So, I mean, if you look at this inflation adjusted number, right, without the dividend, well, I guess with the dividend, it's 11.2 for the S&P. But what you can do, just to make it very clear, is that you can't be like, okay, I want to take, I don't know, let's just like 10,000 of this out and still have $28,000 worth of stock. Right. Whereas on the other side, on the real estate thing, you do have that money back, that 8,000 out of 10, and you still have $10,000 of equity in that property, which is growing in value if being operated correctly, because income is going up. And then, as you said, inflation. And I wanted to point out this, it goes with inflation that, yes, houses appreciate over time, properties appreciate over time, partially because of forced value in our business plan, but also because everything kind of just does because of inflation.
Inflation, really.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, same thing, income goes up with inflation because rent goes up with inflation, right? Sure. So it is sheltered, if you will, from inflation because it is something that's kind of naturally goes along with it rather than being devalued. Now, it's an interesting because cash just over time does lose some value. If you look at this, I mean, you're looking at inflation over that period of time. On average, it was probably like 3%. So
over the 10 years,
like the dividend of 2%, even at its best, is not keeping up with that average. Though the appreciation of the stock did help. So it's not.
That's a good note too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not growing the same way with inflation. It just happens to also be appreciating. It doesn't, rents change because of inflation, right? Like, so it's actually a tied thing. I just thought that was a good, because that's how we have income on the property.
Sure.
So the very thing, just like we schedule in, okay, costs are going up, right?
Yeah.
The income is going to go up with it as well. So I just wanted to, point that out. I just go back to
this. So, I mean, kind of in summation here, because I do have a date with a very lovely lady here in a few minutes that I'm going to be late for, and I'm going to blame Jordan the whole time. But basically, this podcast is kind of the answer to the question, why real estate, right? Is because we don't have to do this inside of a tax account like we would with a Roth IRA in order to preserve the returns from taxes, to shelter the returns from tax. No hiding. CPAs, I would never hide. We can do it with today's dollars.
Legally protect.
Right. There you go. Shelter. We can do it safely. Like, we don't have to deal with those 2022s where we're going to have because if you had to pull, if some event happened in 2022 while the stock market is down and you were forced to sell, for whatever reason, you're not going to have that in real estate. You're not going to have where it could wipe out all the work you just did for the past 7 years. You're not going to have that in real estate, which is a great hedge. I don't like the downturns. Yes, there's, we're not going to make 30% a year like you potentially could in the stock market on a recovery year, which is great, right? We all love that. But over the long run, if I'm building wealth, rule number one is don't lose money. So the negative years are gonna hurt a lot on that. So we avoid the big negative downturns. We get the significant cash flow that we can use today, and then we have the ability to significantly reinvest, not just buy a fractional share every quarter like you can in the real estate, or I'm sorry, in the stock market, but like you're actually going to be able to significantly reinvest and compound, multiply those returns versus add to them like you can for the stock market. So I mean, at the end of the day, if anybody asks me, maybe this is a roundabout way of answering, but if anybody asks me why real estate, this is why. These are all the reasons why, and why. This is the answer to what has put me and my family in the position we're in, is these returns compounded, the ability to compound the returns and keep going, reinvest, and keep it relatively tax sheltered that whole time. That's what, got us to a Chiefs game last week.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Full circle.
Bringing it full circle. Exactly. Yeah. Nicely done. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, we have talked about before the cash out refinance and how that's like the best deal in investing.
For sure.
And that's part of this, but it's not all of it, right? I mean, there's so many pieces to the ways in which it aligns specifically kind of with what you can do with an S&P, and then the additional benefits, which is the cash now.
Sure. In this example, I only pulled 5,000, pulled 50% of your capital, which is a relatively low capital pool. Normally we'd return more than that. We'd always attempt to, in ours we've returned 75%, 60%, whatever when we go for the refinance. But so 5,000 of this 8,300 number is the cash pool. The rest of it is just stacked distributions. So $3,300 of the 8,300 is just distributions. That's a significant amount on, what is that, 30%
over 5 years, right?
Over 5 years.
And that's, again,
that's your ability. You can drop that chunk and keep going
6+%, right? And that's more than, as we've shown, it's going to be more than the dividend return for sure. And we haven't even talked about, when we won't, because we got to get out of here, but right, the fact that at the end, if you exit the property,
you have to sell. Yeah.
It's going to be, of course, well, if we've done it right, which is the whole point of this, is that it's going to be significantly more, right? So that's when the appreciation number comes in. We didn't really do that comparison, right? Like, oh, this property appreciated this much versus the stock that appreciated, but you can assume that it's going to be, if done correctly, at least we would go double, right? Like that's the goal. So
sure.
If you want to compare that, just as the last final thing, but yes, all of this has got us to the Chiefs game where it was lovely and the weather worked out perfectly. But the fact that it went from 30 in the morning to like 65 in the middle of the day probably did not help what's going on in my face right now. But anyways, it was great. Hope you guys appreciated this comparison. Again, as I think we both made clear, no one's knocking the investment in stock market.
Do
that too.
Invest some way.
Yeah, do that too. We thought it'd be interesting to do a comparison of kind of like the standard way people think about investing, because this is also not like if you're someone who's like trading stocks and like, that's a very different thing. This is
an index fund. Yeah. Like just park money, index fund.
Parking money and forget about it, which is the beauty of the real estate thing, because if 100%. You invest, you just park the money and forget about it until that check comes, or that ACH. It sounds better, check, but
I know you don't have to walk to the mailbox anymore, folks.
No, not anymore. All right. Well, if you guys got any thoughts, questions, comments, critiques of my charts, any of those things, please reach out, comment, email us, DM us on LinkedIn. You can actually just message us on Substack. There's all the ways. You guys, I'm sure if you wanted to say something to us, you also could figure out. But
you could just text me too.
Yeah, they're all there.
The four of you have my number.
Yeah, exactly. We appreciate you listening. We hope you learned a little bit, and we hope that you'll come back next week for another edition of the Get Invested podcast.
See ya.